Welcome to
Yeah.
another episode of Salon Stories with me, Melissa Hayward from the Melissa Hayward Academy, where we offer accredited, multi award winning training in hair extensions. Salon Stories is all about celebrating the real journeys of salon owners, stylists, and beauty professionals. I truly believe that we've all got something to learn from each other, whether it's the challenges that we face, the mistakes that we've made, or the wins that we've had. My guest today is the wonderful Michelle Mallon from Michelle Mallon Hair and Beauty. I first met Michelle when she invited me to teach a hair extension class in her beautiful salon near Newry. Straight away, I could see how much love she pours into her space and her work. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know more about her story today. So let's start right at the beginning. Where did you grow up, Michelle?
I am from Newry, just the north of the border, a small village called Camla.
Beautiful. Okay. And have you always lived there? Have you always lived on?
Yeah. I did actually live in America for 3 years in my
Cool.
younger days. Yeah, in New York. Um, and yeah, but I've been based here I was actually came home when I was 21 and have been here ever since.
My mouth is hanging open because I moved to New York and I moved back when I was 21.
Oh, there you go.
What?
Yeah.
I moved to New York when I was 17 and I moved back when I was 21.
I
That
I
is
was exactly the
crazy.
same.
My God, and what brought you to New York? How did that happen?
I went to New York through that Project Children. Basically, years ago when the Troubles was on, there was a scheme that brought children to America whenever they were younger, like 14, 15. And I got an opportunity through our local boxing club, who my brothers boxed with. And basically, we went to New York. All the siblings got an opportunity at some point. But the lady that I was hosted with was a hairdresser. And that was my very first insight to I definitely want to be a hairdresser.
And it's so interesting because we have a very
Yes.
similar story. So I actually went on holidays. It wasn't because of the troubles, but I went on holidays. And then I met a girl over there that was a hairdresser. She was doing my hair and we just clicked. And that's how I ended up in the industry.
Class. Yeah.
Is that where your love of the industry and that's where you kind of got into the industry? Was that New York or did that come later?
I would say, listen, it's in my blood from I was no age. But the thing was, when I was growing up and the whole Barbie scene was on, you know, the way your mum would have bought you the Barbie dolls. My poor mummy, actually, she was like tripping to the toy shop every week because I used to cut their hair. And then my Barbies was all run right with undercuts and shaved sides and all this crack going on. Poor Barbies. But yeah, obviously, you did very quickly realize that the Barbie's hair doesn't grow back.
Well, it sounds like it
So
was meant to be.
yeah.
It's in your blood almost. Was there a particular moment where you realized this is what I want to do? I want to work in hair.
I actually had my very first job when I was 14 in a salon in RV town, and it was a Saturday job, and I just knew that was it. I just knew from the word go that's all I ever wanted to do. Used to do my granny's hair and my auntie's hair and all. I was cutting her very young, probably cutting her from I was 12, 13. I was in cutting her, but very badly. But that was it. Used to go to the salon with my mummy, and my mum used to go to this lady's house, and I used to hand up the permanent rods and the permanent papers, and I was just in my element. And this lady was very glamorous, blonde. She was just so glamorous. I just was in awe of this woman. This was it. This was the start.
I love that. I had a teacher like that I think it was my first class teacher. Her name was Nihi Rudy, an Irish name. And I remember she was like the most glamorous woman I've ever seen. She had like bleach blonde hair. She used to wear like those like 80s pointy high heels and like
Wow.
shiny quilted suits. She was amazing. She was like Dolly Parton, but from Dublin. And I thought she
Yeah.
was the bee's knees. I thought she was
I think
so
there's always one, isn't there? You know, there's
yeah.
always one person you just
Yeah.
remember.
So with your own training and your own education in hairdressing, did you train locally or did you travel for your training? How did you become a hairdresser?
My very first salon only worked there for a week somewhere. And then whenever I went to the tech, then so what we would call the technical college, I was placed in a salon. So it was a mummy and daughter that owned the salon. It was called Donnell's. And the mummy was Nellie and the daughter was Donna. And I actually just loved that salon. That was my very first salon I properly worked in. It was just class. I'd say it was about 4 or 5 stylists. Like it was busy, it was a busy salon. Um, Loved every minute of it. They were like my second family then, and they brought me through my training then at that point. And then I suppose after that, then I think it was into my third year of my tech. Then I thought, right, I need to, widen the net a wee bit here. And I was always very curious, about what else is out there, Now, I still wanted to have the security of my salon and I loved the people I worked with. But I thought, now I'll go to Belfast and do 1 day a week down there. So I was placed in my placement day down Belfast. And to be fair, it would have been like the height of the troubles here in Northern Ireland. So it was a big, big deal. Nobody had done that before in my year in the tech. So it was a big deal going the whole way to Belfast. Now it's no big deal now, but back in the day, it was a bit of an ordeal. So I was placed in an amazing salon called Zach's, and I'll never forget it. It was like on a corner building, and it was upstairs, and it was like 3 floors high. It was like 50 stylists. There was 2 receptionists. There was about 40 juniors. It was mental. So I was there 1 day a week, and I just loved it. But the problem I felt was because I was only there 1 day a week, I felt like I was a new girl every week. So I didn't really get into the groove of it. And I was the country bumpkin because these were all the city slickers. So I was the wee girl from the country, but I was the one who knew how to blow dry. They hadn't a clue how to blow dry. So yeah, that was a great experience having that. And then that salon closed down. So all the stylists dispersed and then they all opened their own salons. And at that point, I decided I was going to America then.
Good woman. That's such a
Yeah.
good journey. So do you remember those early days working in Belfast and working in Donnell's, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember any particular clients? Do you remember any good or bad clients when you were starting out?
I remember this one day that a stylist asked me to put on a root colour. And I was just besides myself. I was like, this is my time to shine. So here's me come with the wee trolley. And it was like a very, very cool salon, but it was like old tiles on the ground. And didn't the trolley catch on the tiles? And the colour spilt all over the floor. I was like, oh my God. So I just felt like, oh no, this was my first wee opportunity for me to show them what I was made of, basically. And I would never forget that day. One of them moments, where you just want the ground to open up and just swallow. And then the stylist like, it's all right, I'll mix my own colour. And she fired it all quick because obviously I'd spent like 15 minutes cleaning it up and it was just a mess. But it's funny the way you remember the one bad thing,
And the hundreds of good ones don't stick with you. I remember years and years ago when I first moved back from New York, I was working in a salon in Dublin, but then I was also doing hair extensions, kind of mobile on the side. And I will never forget this. It's about 20 something years ago, and I'm still embarrassed about it because I was doing a girl's hair in her house, and I remember it was the evening time. It was dark outside. I was halfway through doing her hair extensions. I had the full back nearly finished, hadn't touched the sides yet, and my pliers or my clamp that I used to open and close the hair extensions snapped in two in my hands.
God.
And I've never felt more embarrassed or unprofessional in my entire career because I couldn't finish what I had put in. So she essentially had a mullet because I couldn't finish the rest. So, and I couldn't take out what I had in. But now luckily her husband was an electrician, so he had his work van outside, and I finished her extensions with this pliers that was probably about 7 inches long or 8 inches long. It was just a really bad look. And now she didn't care. And to be honest, now I still do her daughter's hair, which is so, so lovely. And I love that. But like, I still cringe thinking about it because it was a really unprofessional look for me.
Oh my God, it's
But isn't
awful.
it funny that these things stick with us? Tell me, what was the journey then from working in other people's salons to deciding you're going to open your own salon?
Oh, I'm like a cat. I've like 9 lives. So first and foremost, then obviously was in Belfast, then moved to America, which was amazing experience. Like I was working in the Upper East Side in a real high class salon. Absolutely loved it. My first client there every Tuesday morning was, we would call it a prostitute, but she was a high class escort. And basically, she had 5 wigs. And every
Ooh.
Tuesday morning, she was my first client. I absolutely loved her. She was class. So I'd be like, well, what was the crack at the weekend? Who did you meet? She would be meeting senators and all this crack. She was very cool. So yeah, kind of had that bit of a journey with being in America. And then when I come home, I went for a couple interviews. Being from a small town, I was like, do you know what? Like the interviews were brutal, and I was like, I just can't be working for anybody else. So I actually opened my first salon when I was 21. So that was the start of it.
Same. I opened my first salon when I was 21 as well. Interesting that we have
That
a
is,
very
yeah.
similar journey. So was there anything in New York or in your kind of early years that kind of shaped what you wanted or didn't want your own salon to look or feel like?
Well, I think for me, very early on, I very much wanted a people salon where people could come in and they could be like their safe space. Now, going back to them days, I didn't realise that's what I was creating. But now I know that's exactly what I'm creating. Back in them days, it was like I wanted a friendly, comfortable atmosphere. People come in and just have the crack and be able to actually speak to other people. I certainly didn't want one of these salons where you needed to dress up to go to. And that kind of was a thing at the time, where there was a couple of salons in the area were very like, oh, you need to get your hair done to go to the salon. So it was very much like my personality would have been like, come on in, daughter, and I look after you, you know. But being 21, I didn't realize I was actually creating that environment. But now, at the age now, I can see back that that was how I built a very big clientele very fast then, because I was giving people the safe space, you know.
Absolutely. I'm like anyone that knows me is fed up to hear me bang on about this, but I really do think customer service is everything. And it's 75% of why your clients come back to you. And that's why you have been so successful with your salon, because they're coming back for you. They're coming back for you and your team and the experience in your salon. And like having been in your salon, it is so welcoming and it's like a home from home and it doesn't feel like up its own arse. It's really, really nice. And I think that's again why you've been successful. And I think it's just your personality that lends itself to that anyway. So do you remember if there was any challenges when you were first opening your salon? Because like me, I was 21. I had no idea what I was doing. I don't know about you, but I was like, feck it, I'll open a salon. Knew nothing about business whatsoever. So how was your experience opening your salon?
Well, I think we're from a business background. So well, I was grew up, my daddy had ice cream vans and chip vans.
Cool.
So we were always like wheeling, dealing and working hard and all that crack. So I think like I was delighted to get into the salon because that was nearly an escape from working at the football matches and all that, you know, at the family business. But I think that hard graft from very early days, seeing that, you know, there was no other way. We weren't brought up with another way. There was no lying on a Saturday morning. There was no lying in. I was up and at it and get on with it kind of attitude. So I think from very early days, that was programming into me that, and then that's whenever I opened my salon, I was just working hard. It was just the graft was on and I knew I wanted to build the business. Now, the business grew very quickly.
Good.
So I started off in a very small salon, had trained in my team. Within a year, I'd bought a premises, moved to the side of town. It grew very quickly. But there was a downside to that because then I was still only in my very early 20s. So I had 19 of a team to look after. The business was growing really, really fast. I started maybe like using my profit to invest in property. And I was very early on. Like if I was doing what I was doing then, now I'd be more able for it. So I think that's when in my very late 20s, early 30s, I started struggling with my mental health then. The money was coming in, the team was growing, but I nobody really there to guide me and say, right, you actually do need to take a day off here because I was working 24/7. It was just work, 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 work. Then in the middle of it all, I ended up having a couple of kids. I was very fortunate. My mum had a creche So the kids
Wow.
were put into crash like after 3, 4 weeks. So it was like, have these babies, pop them out, throw them in the crash, and get on with work. So it played its own toll later on in the journey. Then it kind of come back to bite me in the arse, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But it's all part of the experience, isn't it?
Yeah, and we learn from it because it's so funny how similar our journeys are. Everything you say, I'm like, very similar to mine because my son was 6 weeks old when I went back to work. Because I think when you work for yourself, you have to, you have no choice. But I think it's something that like yourself, I've really learned as I've got older is to put on my own mask before those around me because I'm no good to my team. I'm no good to my staff. I'm no good to
Yeah.
my customers if I'm burned out and I'm destroyed. Like, so it's really important. Like, self care isn't selfish. It's so important to take that time for yourself. And I love that
Yeah.
you have the kind of business background because like, I've always been an entrepreneur, but I didn't know that. I didn't know what that word was. I didn't know that's what I was. So when I was a kid, I used to like pick my neighbor's flowers and then sell them back to them. Or I used to like, I had a library in my bedroom where I'd rent out my books, or I'd like opened a laundrette in my mum's front room. So I've always had the kind of business bit of me. It's always been in my blood, but I didn't know how to like harness that or what that really was because nobody told me that that was a path. You can work for yourself and this is how you do it and this is how you do the business side of it. So I just naturally was drawn to it. But the business side, like actually running the money and stuff came later. I really didn't know what I was doing when I started. But look, we all learn from our own lessons and we learn from each other's lessons. So you mentioned there that you had a massive team. Like that's a big
Yeah.
having so many people. So when you are taking somebody onto your team, is there a particular quality that you look for in somebody when you're hiring?
Yeah, I really, throughout the years, I really I hire from personality. I don't necessarily hire the best hairdresser or the best qualified person. I hire who I feel has got nice qualities, loyal, mannerism, and then I make them into a good hairdresser.
Oh,
Because I find you can have the best stylist in the country, but they can be arrogant and you can't work with them, you know. So I feel if I take on somebody that maybe their skills aren't as high quality as I need them to be, but I can definitely train them. You know,
oh,
when I had the big team, my team grew from students at the tech and I trained them up from scratch. So that was all my babies basically. Yeah, it was like a wee family. So I probably had up to maybe 8, 10 juniors at one time. And we had training nights and we had competition evenings and we did photo shoots. It was great fun, you know. And then all the people that I trained up eventually opened up on their own salon and we're still very friendly, which is great. I would
that's so
regularly
lovely.
mess them and be like, oh, you're doing great, your work's class or whatever. And vice versa, they'd do the same with me. Like,
Fantastic. And I think that's so important. Like, because obviously I'm in salons all day, every day because I train in salons. And I think one bad apple can just knock everything off. So I think having a team that really gels is so, so important because customers
yeah.
can feel that as well when they come in. They can feel if the team isn't cohesive. When you opened your salon, has your client base changed? Do you kind of do everybody's hair, or do you have a particular client base? Is it the younger people, the older people? Who comes into Michelle Mallon?
So I suppose bit of a backstory with that. I had the 2 salons run at the one time. And then pre-COVID, I kind of took a bit of a like massive back step. I did have a bit of a struggle with my mental health. So I had to make the decision at that point, what was I going to do? So I actually closed both salons down, made a lot of people redundant. Unfortunately, this was just literally pre-COVID. So I had decided to open a salon from home. So I built a small garden room and did it all beautiful. But because I hadn't got a repair ID number at that time, I was entitled to absolutely no benefits. So I got no money, no grant money, no nothing. So that was just an extra wee kick in the stomach. It was really difficult because I then had separated from my husband and had bought myself a new house. So I had not alone had my new mortgage on my own. I had to, feed my kids and pay all my bills. And there was just no income there. So it was a really difficult time. And it was hard pill to swallow because like I calculated and I probably should never have done this, but I paid the guts of £300,000 sterling in rates in my business career. And I was like, I've just paid all that rates. And 2 months pre-COVID, I had no rates per ID and I get nothing. So it was typical. And then there was people like getting hundreds and hundreds of pounds, just handed money out. Maybe they'd only opened the business 2 weeks before COVID. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what was happening. So after COVID, then I decided that working from home wasn't for me. I had built a beautiful garden room and it was a beautiful wee salon, but I didn't like how enclosed it was. I didn't like how small it was. I had me and my one assistant, and it was just, I just felt like it was just caving me in more. So I decided then at that point that I would rent a chair in a salon, and there's a beautiful salon in our village. I was able to rent a chair in there for a wee while. I actually went to a second salon after that when that opportunity was over. Yeah, and it was just a wee bit of a journey. It was 3 years of grafting, working on myself, trying to find where I was at. I had all this going on, massive big team, massive big salons, and all of a sudden, boom, gone. It was very hard. But I do believe that I needed to take that step back to move forward, because if I had kept going, it wouldn't have been healthy at all.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great way of looking at it. And that is, so sometimes looking back at the time, I always say sometimes you feel like you've been buried, but you've actually been planted, and it's your chance to grow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that was maybe it for you. When I was in your salon, it was quite new. You had the downstairs all done. It was beautiful, and then you were starting to do upstairs. What does it look like now?
Yeah, so then after I finished with the rent-a-chair, this opportunity came up. It was a salon that was already done. Do you know, it was like a walk-in job. So I decided to take it on for a year to see how it went. So I'm on to my second year now, and I absolutely love it. It's absolutely fabulous. And it's kind of like, if anybody knows, like South Armagh, like I'm in the middle of it and everybody's around me. So it's like as if I'm in the centre of the universe. And then it's like all these towns and villages right round me. There's no other working salon in the area. So it was a great opportunity. I just felt it was right for me, and it feels right. It's bright and airy and fresh. And I will put my own wee stamp on it eventually. But at the minute, it's perfect. And I can come and go as I please. I can put as much work in or as little work in or whatever. You know, obviously, I've worked at 24/7 again. Like, you know, it's all. I've opened a second business upstairs. We do dress hire. I'd been into business with another girl, so it's flying as well. And my team is just growing and growing and growing again. So it's like nearly as if I'm starting from scratch again.
But you're starting from scratch with all the lessons that you've learned,
Yeah,
since you started. So you're
yeah,
in a much stronger position now. There's no such thing as a mistake as long as you learn from it.
exactly.
So what's the long-term goals for Michelle Mallon Hair and Beauty?
It's really just growing the team now. And so there's 3 stylists at the minute and 3 juniors. And then I've got a new assistant coming on. So I am in the process of growing the team, growing the business, and we want to launch our own hair extension brand. Done a lot of work on that over the last 2 years. And also took a backseat from that over the last 3 months, because just trying to grow the team and actually grow our extension clients as well. Yeah, so it's just growth, trying to grow the business back up, you know, and travel as well. I do education as well myself. So I do cutting education and upstyle education. So that's 2 elements as well. But look, I'm trying to grow the business, but still have a life outside work. And I'm finding that element difficult. So because I'm an all or nothing kind of girl, you know.
Yeah, same. It's a tough one, isn't it? It's very hard to balance. Like the last year, I've basically ghosted everybody I know. And I feel like all my friends, all my family, I've had no time at all. So I'm trying to, like yourself, find more time for that sort of stuff because
Yeah,
it's important. Like, I don't think anyone was ever lying on their deathbed going, "Oh, I wish I worked more." So I think
I
we need
know.
to be a bit more careful with that. So, the hair extension brand sounds super interesting. It's something that
Mm.
I've been involved in hair extensions for 24 years nearly now. And it's something I dipped my toes into a few years ago and then realized this isn't actually for me. I love the education side. I love teaching hair extensions, but I'm so happy for other people to supply them. So I'm delighted to hear that the more suppliers, the better, and with really, really good hair because I know what happened to me years and years ago when I was like, the logical step was for me to sell hair extensions. Obviously, I'm teaching hair extensions. And I thought I was doing everything right. I got samples from factories, wore them in my own hair, fabulous. And then I spent thousands ordering the hair that I had tried that was gorgeous. And they sent me totally different hair. And then obviously I've no comeback. So it's a tough one. And I think now is probably better, like with the internet and stuff, communication's probably better with these factories. But yeah, I don't envy you with that because I know how tough it is and I'm excited to see the brand come to life.
Obviously, I've been working on it for about 2 years now. So what I done was tried out loads of different hair, put it in loads of bloggers. So to be honest, I've spent about £10,000 on hair. Easy all day long. And this is like free hair to people because you're like, wear my hair for a year, see how you feel, like see how the quality is, see how it lasts, does it shed, da, da, da. You know, all the things you look for. And then I decided that I would go on a course to educate myself how to launch onto Amazon. And it was horrendous. Oh, I found it so hard. So I actually then took a massive step back from all that. And I thought, no, this is me going down this rabbit hole again. This is me, 40 different plates spinning and them all crashing down around me. So I had to really listen to my mistakes from before and be like, right, Michelle, one thing at a time. Come on now, you're going down this rabbit hole again. This is exactly what happened to you the last time. You had too many things going on and then everything goes to shit. So I was like, just we'll take a wee step back from that. I might pursue it, I might not pursue it, but at the minute, something I would like to do, but it's a hard game. It's not like I thought, oh, let's just, put a label on her extensions and we sell our own. And I know that sounds dead easy, but it's definitely not as easy as that.
It's not at all. And then there's so much that can go wrong. And it's just the Amazon thing is a bloody nightmare. I know people that sell stuff on Amazon and it's thousands to even get on Amazon, but then you're on page like 9 or something and nobody's done. It's so
And then you have to spend so much money to advertise to get you bumped up to the top. And look, you need massive finance for the likes of that. You need to be a big part of a company or you need some sort of equity or whatever, and some days I'd be like, oh, do you know what? Maybe I'll just cut her and it's enough. So it's kind of like finding my feet again still, but looking after my mental health.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm glad to hear it. You mentioned that you're doing a lot of hair extensions in the salon. Your daughter is a very talented hair extensionist. I trained her myself. She is fantastic. So how does it feel to see her following in your footsteps with hair?
Well, actually, she's not still doing hair extensions. So what has happened now, she's actually got about 20 clients.
Brilliant.
And she just revolves them every so she works for me on a Saturday. Well, she works for herself. Yes, because she seems to get all the money and I get none. But anyway, she's actually doing quantity surveying. So she's gone to university and she's doing an apprenticeship. Fantastic. So she's in tech one day a week and she's out in her firm 4 days a week and then she's in the salon 1 day a week doing her. So it's amazing. Her money is her income, so that's paying for her car and her wee bit of savings and taking on nice holidays. So she's clever,
Very smart because hair, if she was doing a Saturday job cutting hair or colouring hair, as the margins aren't that big with that. But with hair extensions, the margins are massive. So as you said, she could do 20 clients and that pays for her car and it's amazing.
She is very lucky. But then it's like, for me, it's like letting her have that opportunity. Then I'm making sure she's saving half her income. So at least that when she goes to buy her first house or whatever, she'll have a few pound there, So it's like trying to help them,
Yeah, she has a very good head on her shoulders. I think she's going to be absolutely fine. How do you balance the role of being a mum and the salon?
I have 3 kids. My youngest is 13, between dancing and football and swimming and all sorts of things going on. It's like I do my job and it's very intense because I'm the salon owner and you have a team to look after. That's my one family. And then I come home and that's a second job. And then when you get into bed at night, you're exhausted. And then you still have to try and exercise yourself and healthy eating and do your meditation and try and do stuff for yourself as well. So I'm like the third family of me. And you know what? At the end of the day, they're not going to be about forever. So another 10 years, they're going to be gone doing their own wee thing. Yeah. So it's like you have a window of opportunity with them as well. And they're great children. I have to say they're very good. They'd help me a good bit around the house. They've no choice.
And I think,
Yeah.
and you have, I know you obviously have Hannah. Do you have any other, is it boys or girls?
So I have Hannah's 19 at the minute. Charlie is 14 and Molly May is 13.
Okay,
busy.
so
Yeah.
I have a Charlie as well. That's my son's name. It's Charlie.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
And yeah, he's actually 20 now. Yeah, he's away in Lanzarote at the moment in my mum's house. But living his best life, lucky thing. He
Yeah.
told me he was taking a year off to do an album next year. I'm saying, who's
Wow.
funding that?
Oh, isn't it great to have the insight to do what they want?
No, fair play to them. I don't think Charlie's going to follow my footsteps with hair. So you were talking about how your mental health was quite bad, understandably. Was there a turning point or something where you went, right, something needs to change here. I need to fix this.
I think everybody gets a low point in their life, and it was a case where just everything got too much. I took on too much. I was trying to please everybody. I didn't know how to say no. It was never a financial gain. It was always like trying to please people or please somebody. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It was never really about the money or growing the salons. It was just like people pleasing. And through the work that I'd done, I've realised that was from my childhood then. It was like definitely a people pleasing element because I'm one of six from a very successful household. All my family, my brothers and sisters are all very successful in their own right. So I was always trying to, I suppose, gather my place, if you know what I mean, from a young child on up. But moving forward with salons and all that, anyway, it just got to the stage where I was using alcohol as my crutch. I felt as if, oh, give me a drink so I can think. And it just got to the stage where I wasn't drinking every day. I was very much a weekend drinker and I thought I was okay. So it's like, I don't drink every day. I don't drink in the morning. I'm fine kind of thing. But my drinking was definitely a Friday and a Saturday and it was getting heavier and more intense. And with that, it was causing me problems during the week because my anxiety would be through the roof. Coming into like a Monday, Tuesday were right off. I was pretending everything was fine when it actually wasn't fine. Wednesday, I would gather myself a bit. Thursday, I was rocking. Friday, I was back drinking. So people would say to me, she weren't that bad. No, technically, I wasn't that bad, but I was bad enough for me. It was my limits. Do you know what I mean? So it was my, listen, whenever me and my husband separated, that quiet time when the kids were with him, I couldn't handle like the house being quiet. So I would just drink, So, and I think a lot of mummies that are separated probably feel that in the early days, couldn't sit in a quiet house. So I either went out or I drank in the house, or it was non-negotiable that I couldn't handle that. But yeah, just through all the work and just giving up alcohol and really realising that, hey, I used it a lot, just as I say, give me a drink so I can think, was my motto in my head, or I need a drink to settle myself. But then when I drank, that left me more full of anxiety. So in fact, it was doing the opposite.
Yeah.
But I used an online course to help me. I did join AA for a wee while, and I'm not embarrassed about that. That's what I needed, And a lot of people were like, "Sure, why did you go there? She only drank 2 nights a week." But it was how it was affecting my head, So listen, I had to take that massive step back. I couldn't have done that journey running a team of that size.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And you knew what was right for you. So with your own recovery and with your own recovery from mental health issues and sobriety, has that influences how you lead your team or how you connect with clients?
Oh, massively. I can handle day-to-day stuff now. As beforehand, I was pretending I could handle it. And then when I went home at night, I would be like cracking up. I'm very different with my team. I listen to them. I can relate to them. I like listen before I talk. Now I'm more settled within myself. It's a knock-on effect. I feel that if I'm not right, they're not right. They have obviously their own lives doing their own thing. But if the leader of the team isn't in a good place, how do you expect your team to follow suit? If I could be the person I am now and have the team of 19, I know how much I could have developed them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't meant to be. I needed to do that whole journey to get to where I am. I have a lovely small team around me, and I'm happy to keep it like that. I know my limits now, and I know when I'm taking on too much. And there's days in salon where I do take on too much, and I go home and I do, fuck, I just love a drink, but that's not the answer for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, well done. So I think it's interesting what you brought up there about being a people pleaser, because I think that a lot of people in this industry relate to that. I know I certainly do. I'm the biggest people pleaser, and it's something I've really had to learn over the years. Like yourself, saying no used to terrify me, and I used to take on everything. I thought everyone was my customer. I thought I had to be everybody's hair extensionist. And actually, it's only in the last, I'd say, 8 years or so, I've started to say no. And it's so freeing, because I used to bend over backwards and upside down for people, and you get nothing out of it, because you just become burned out. And then the clients who are your clients, you're not giving them 100%, because you're absolutely burnt out. So I think a lot of people are going to relate to what you're saying. And like yourself, I don't know what it is in me, but I'm a massive overachiever, and my partner has to often sit me down and go, Melissa, you don't have to be the best at this, but I do. There's something in me, and it's definitely something I need to work on, because it's at the detriment of the rest of my life. So yeah, it's something that I think being aware of is the first step, isn't it? And I think so many women out there walking very, very similar paths to you, like motherhood, running a business, are working through recovery and mental health. So what would you say to somebody who is in the thick of it right now and maybe doubting that they're able to do everything?
Yeah, it's okay. Like, I think you need to just breathe, take a breath, and it will be okay. But the thing is, you just have to really sit back and take a bit of time out and really analyze, well, why is that happening? Just be aware of what's happening around you. Do you know what I mean? Like, just be aware of, right, okay, so I drank Friday, Saturday, Sunday night there, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was like a psycho. Right. Well, why was I in such bad form then few days? Okay, take it back to Sunday, take it back to Saturday, take it back to Friday. Starting on Friday, what happened on Friday or Thursday or Wednesday that made me go down that rabbit hole? So it's like taking it right back to what was the trigger, more so than what actually happened. So when you're in the drinking, it's nearly too late. It's like, what happened to you to get to that stage of when you're like down a bottle of wine when you can't see forward, and it's just taking that time out. And it's okay to not reply to every client and not reply to every message. And it's okay to take a bit of time and, even just say to your family, listen, I'm not feeling great. I'm really going to try and get this drinking under control. And it's okay. My family didn't know that I was struggling with alcohol at all for a long, long time. So it's okay to not tell people too, but just do what's right for you. Do you know what's
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I think, yeah, sometimes it will be okay. I think we have a habit of maybe catastrophizing everything, and all these
Yeah.
things might happen. And sometimes the stuff that I've been the most worried about has never happened. Like
Yeah.
it never happened. It was more in my head. So I think grounding yourself is good, breathing is good, being in the right now rather than 10 steps ahead going, but all these things could happen. They might not.
Because think too, like it's very important when you're in that moment where you're like, right, my life's shit, everything's disastrous. Potentially still up with my husband, trying to get a new house. Like you've 3 kids hanging off you. You haven't got the money to pay the bills. You haven't even the money to go to get groceries. Like there's people living like that. That was me, very much me. I was stone broke. I was going to the shop with 3 different cards that didn't work. And I never forget one day in the shop, the cards didn't work. And I was like, please God, even just let there be £5 in the account. But I was too proud to ask for help. But I remember the guy behind me paid for I was getting bread and milk. And I was like, oh my God, he's an angel. But he wasn't. He was just a human being trying to help.
Yeah.
Like when you're in that really dark place, you just have to do today and just get today over and just try and realize what's not good for you and what is good for you. And just try and do the stuff that's good for you. Get out for a walk and clear your head, or go for a swim, or you don't even have to go to gyms or classes and all that crack. You just have to try just doing one day at a time and that's it. Just do the stuff that's good for you. Do a wee bit of journaling's great, you know. And you're saying like you build up everything in your head. You know, this week had a flood in the salon, a broken wash machine, my heating in the house broke, and I need a radiator in my car. But to me, that's crap. But like I could make that into such a big deal that it
Yeah.
could just ruin my whole week. But everything for me now at the minute is I dealing with day-to-day life, and I don't want to drink over the head of this. So I'm going, right, it's all right. I have the money there to pay the washing machine man. I got the flood sorted
Yeah.
out. The car's going to get fixed on Monday. Right. Yes, potentially I'll have no wages this month because everything's going on everything that needs
Yeah.
fixed. But it's keeping it real. It's not really that big of a deal. Yes, it's hard, but it's life. And loads of people are going through stuff like that at the minute. I just think, why me? Why is this happening to me? This isn't fair. That's life.
Yeah. And I think it's all about your mindset. And look, it is tough. I've definitely been in that position where I was literally looking down the back of a sofa for coins to pay for petrol. I have been that poor when I was a single mum by myself. And I remember I wasn't charging appropriately. I was just working constantly, just in a blind panic almost. And it's really, really tough. And like 2 weeks ago, I was working, or about a month ago, I was working in Kerry. I was driving home from Kerry and the wheel fell off my car. Absolute disaster. Like I could have been killed. Like the wheel basically came off my car while I was driving. Nightmare. It took me 11 hours to get home. It was literally planes, trains and automobiles trying to get home with hire cars and all sorts. Had to leave my car in Kerry. It was there for a month. But my mindset was like, am I so lucky that I actually have the money to pay for this now and I can just get a hire car, and it's a nightmare, but look, I can get home. And I think it's all about the mindset. I remember I was driving to a class once years and years ago and I was going, oh God, I have to go to work now. And then I went, no, I get to go to work. I love what I do. I absolutely love my job. And to be able to, like, I love driving. I'm driving in the countryside. I'm eating jellies and listening to a podcast. I'm going to make women feel really good about themselves and their ability. And I get paid really well for that. So, like, I remember it really clearly. It was like almost a switch change in my brain. And I was like, I get to do this. And ever since, I'm just so grateful for what I do. And I'm so lucky for what I do.
Yeah, it definitely is all to do with the mindset. You know, you could be doom and gloom and poor me, but look, there's nobody coming to save us. Do you know, it's up to us. Do you know, at the end of the day, you get up in the morning, whatever you tell yourself is what's going to happen, you know, so it's all good. At the end of the day, everything's sent to test us, you know, and we just have to get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, some days are better than others, but I think more often than not, there's better days than bad now for me anyway. So looking back, if you were to have a conversation with little Michelle who was starting out in the industry, what would you tell her? What would be your advice?
Oh my God, imagine you could tell your younger self, you know, like you obviously make all the mistakes for a reason, but I would tell myself that everything's going to be fine. You don't have to burn yourself out. You don't have to bend over backwards for every single person in the world. Take your time. There's no rush. You know, you don't have to be Trevor Shore by tomorrow. Just settle. You know, it's okay. Everything will be okay.
Great advice. So can you think of a moment recently that made you kind of feel really, really proud of how you've come professionally or personally?
Okay, I think I just started TikTok there about 4 weeks ago.
Well,
I feel like a celebrity. And it is to do with my sobriety and day-to-day life of just being a mummy, running a business. And I actually don't talk about the salon too much, but it's quite cool because you're getting a lot of messages from people there that are struggling and helping people and giving them advice how to get through the weekend or break it down into hours or stuff like that there, you know. So that's pretty cool at the minute. I'm so delighted with my salon. It's so busy and I'm putting the work in. But I can see now, you know, the old me would have been like, oh, but, it's not good enough, or, but we need to be busier. But now it's like, you know what, we're flying, we're grafting, we're building the business back up. And even to look at that from a different angle, that's nearly where I'm proud because I'm able to look at it with a fresh set of eyes, which is amazing.
That's really good. And I love, so what's your TikTok handle so people can follow you?
Oh, it's Sober Sally.
I love it. Okay, I'll follow you straight after we get
And
off.
everybody, people meet me in the street and be like, hello, Sally. And I'm like, hi.
my God, TikTok is amazing. So like I
Oh,
was never on TikTok. Everyone kept saying to me, you need to be on TikTok, you need to be on TikTok. And I
yeah.
remember going, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, it's a
I
full-time
know
job.
it's so
And
hard.
I also felt like I was too old for TikTok because I'm in my 40s. And I remember going, no, that's for like teenagers to dance
Yeah.
on. You know, it's not for, but TikTok is such a great platform. Most of my work comes from TikTok. Like I absolutely love it. So yeah, well done for embracing TikTok.
I know it's mad, but it's all good.
Fantastic. So we're going to read, well, I'm going to read us a story here on Reddit and we're going to discuss it. And I think a lot of people will maybe relate to this story because it's about raising prices in a salon. So the title is Raising Prices for the First Time in My Career, and I already have a complaint. A couple of days ago, I announced that I'd be raising my prices for the first time in my career, and I already had a client complain about it. Mind you, I only raised my color prices by $10 and cuts by $5. I already have very affordable prices, and I've had clients say, that's it, during checkout a few times. Today, my client, who only gets cuts, mentioned that at least 3 times how disappointed she was that I was raising my prices. In previous appointments, she told me that she booked with me because my prices are cheap. While checking out, she literally said, this is why you shouldn't raise your prices because then I have to tip more too. I was at a loss for words. I'd expect something like this from an older client, but she's around my age, 23, and she knows how hard it is for people our age to navigate financial stability during this stage of life, and especially right now. It was a very frustrating situation. I live in a small town, so unfortunately, I expect more people to complain about this too. I understand that I should charge my worth and that the ones who appreciate my work will stay. I've no problem with the ones who complain about spending an extra $5 to $10 leaving because those aren't my customers anyway, and you don't want them. I'm just tired dealing with people, I guess. But legitimate question for those that have been in my shoes. How do you respond to clients who complain about your prices to your face? So I think that a lot of people are raising their prices at the moment, understandably, because they have to, because costs have gone up. So what is your first reaction to that story, Michelle?
Oh God, so we've all been in that situation. Do you know what I mean? I'm 25 years doing hair. Like I've raised my prices several times, but as I get older, I have better self worth, so I don't mind raising my prices. And we're due to do a price increase in the salon at the minute. I hate doing it, but everything's got so expensive. But directly to that client, we've all had clients like that. You have to just rise above it and be like, sorry, be like this. You know, at the end of the day, she came to the salon because the salon was cheap. She's going there because she only wants to pay that amount. The way I would look at that now is, isn't it awful sad for her in life to have that attitude toward money? She obviously has an issue with money that she's only prepared to pay X amount of pounds. So, in fact, she's going to live her whole life like that because with the flow of money, when you give it out, you get it back. You give it out, you get it back. But she's going to restrict that with the energy. It's on her. But the stylist, it's very hard because, especially if you're younger stylist, you're like cringing. You know, it's embarrassing enough and it's hard enough until you get to our age and like, well, that's the price. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
because X, Y, and Z, my rates are now whatever amount, you know, or my bill, you know. But yeah, it's a difficult one for younger stylists, but as you get older, it's okay. But to be honest, you don't want clients to get anyway because, you know, you're providing a service. Why should you not get paid properly first?
Yeah,
Let alone
absolutely.
listening to the therapy and giving the coffee and all the rest, you know.
100%. There's a lady called Sarah Naylor, a wonderful lady, and she says something that sticks with me a lot. And I remember she said once, if your prices don't give you the ick, you're not charging enough. And I think that's fantastic. And it's something I kind of think about a lot. It's something I say to my students. I remember years ago, like yourself, I'd be going, oh, but she can't afford it. Her husband lost his job, whatever. But I have bills to pay. This is literally my job. So what is your go-to way of responding? Do you have a go-to way of responding when a client questions your price or your price increase?
Oh, now it's different now than it was years ago. But now I would just say, sorry, you don't feel that it's worth that money. Maybe you should look for another salon.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Boom.
think so.
Right?
Yeah,
Don't come back.
absolutely. And I think not everyone is your clients. And sometimes when you charge too little, you're actually hurting yourself because you're not charged. Like,
Mm.
so any of my students that are listening to this are going to cringe hearing me say this because I've said it so many times. But I have powder brows, right? Because I've no eyebrows. I'm from the 90s. I overplucked my eyebrows when I was in my teens. I looked at two local places to me, right, to get my powder brows done. I looked at both of their work beforehand. The work was incredible. They both had beautiful before and after photos. They both had like loads and loads of 5-star reviews. So I knew they were both good, right? I couldn't see any difference in the quality of work. They were both brilliant. So I asked them both for a quote. One of them quoted me €180. The other one quoted me €350. Guess which one I booked?
The dear one.
Absolutely. Now, I have no evidence that the dearer one was better, but there's something in me that went, they're more expensive, they're better. This is my face. I'm going to go for the more expensive one. And
Yeah.
I think we all have to remember that, because if something is too cheap, we go, something wrong there. Do you know, it's in us.
Or
So
you think they're maybe not using the best product. Do you know what sort of way?
absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's important. So when you're talking about you have a price increase coming up now soon, do you find the best way to do it is just to do it, or do you communicate it ahead of time with your customers, or how do you approach that conversation?
Look, I'd probably tell my clients ahead of time, and just be like saying on such date price increase, and maybe give them the price increase beforehand, as in Prince of the Night or whatever. Because I have a lot of clients that have come to me there's 25 years, so it's like giving them the heads up. It's more courtesy. Regarding the actual salon prices for the rest of the team and the salon in general, that will go, there'll be a poster put up and such a date, price increase, and then that'll automatically go in the system. There'll be no faffing about with that, but it's more common courtesy for my wee regulars that come every week or stuff like that, and them older clients as well, But here, tell you what, they're the ones who don't mind paying,
Yeah.
they're the ones, and you're looking after them. Do you know what sort of way? I find as well, the clients that complain about prices, they're the ones that are most hassle.
1,000,000%. I can't agree more. I think that the people that pay the least expect the most from
Yeah,
you.
and also they're the ones that you cancel quicker or not show up or whatever, but I just don't have a no-show like tolerance. If they don't show once, they just don't get another appointment. No, they've no respect for you at the end of the day. And with age as well.
It does. It comes with learning those lessons. The comment in that story about tipping is interesting, because that she was like, "Now I have to tip you more." I don't think tipping culture is really a thing for us. Like, tips are great;
Right.
they're well appreciated.
Maybe for you, because you're more in the educated, you're doing education.
Yes.
But obviously with America, is it a certain percentage or something they
Yeah.
have to tip? Now she's raging because the price have gone up, so she have to tip more. Imagine even saying that.
I'd
That's
be
crazy.
mortified. Yeah,
Oh, mortified. But I get 2 holidays a year from my tips.
what
I
I
do.
do.
It's brilliant. And my girls get very well tipped as well. So it's great. But we all have our wee jars and we're all rocking. And then say if somebody opens the chip jar, it's like nearly like a celebration. Well, what did you get?
What lovely.
The younger staff are definitely getting at least half a week's wages as tips.
Wow.
Our clients are very generous.
God, I'm delighted to hear that.
They do go the extra mile and give them the wee cupcake on the side, or, they have the nice coffee, or give them a wee extra massage at the basin and stuff like that. They're going the extra mile. But I've always said to my young team, you go the extra mile, you get the extra tips. And, they definitely do.
Yeah, and that's why people come back to them as well. So
Yeah.
that's a win-win, really. In America, the tipping culture was massive. Like, I nearly make as much on tips as doing hair when I lived there, but
God, the money was great in America. Don't know if I ever come home.
bad days. Like, I was saying that to somebody the other day. They were like, what's the most you've ever charged for hair extensions? And it was when I was 17 in New York. My minimum price started at $1,000.
Yeah.
$1,000 for
Okay.
hair extensions. Matt, this is in like 2001, I think. So, Michelle, I just have some really quick fire questions for you. So, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Oh, early bird. I'm up at the crack of dawn every morning.
I'm rubbish after 9 o'clock at night. I'm no good to anyone. If you were a hairdresser, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
Oh, probably like interior design or something like that. Definitely something arty. Yeah. Along them lines. Yeah.
I think we were separated at birth, Michelle, because that's what I was going to do was interior design. That was my whole plan. I was like,
Yeah.
finish school, going to do interior design, and then I ended up in hairdressing. So, a tea or coffee or neither?
Oh, coffee all day long.
Typical hairdressers. What's your dream holiday destination?
Oh, I was in ballet a couple of weeks ago and it was phenomenal. It was unbelievable. I loved it.
So if you could have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, dinner with anyone. Actually, if I had an opportunity, I would like to meet Mel Robbins, the lady that does
Fantastic.
podcasts, and yeah, go for dinner.
You know what's funny? There's a Mel Robbins podcast with the lady that started the blow dry bars. Have you listened to that
Oh,
one?
yes, it's amazing. Yeah.
I send that to every one of my students.
There,
Every
yeah.
one of them, I send them that podcast after the training because, and anyone listening, I highly recommend. I might put it in the show notes to go listen to that because she started the blow dry bar literally going around to people's houses with a duffel bag with a
Yeah.
blow dryer and her brushes in it, and then she grew that. And it's something that I really like from that conversation is when, and this is what I was talking to you about, is there anything that you took from your initial hairdressing to your salon? What she took was when she was going to people's houses, they didn't have mirrors in front of them. So they weren't sitting there. None of us like looking at ourselves in the mirror,
Yeah, like,
for an
oh,
hour.
yeah.
The ugliest we've ever looked, our hair off our face, a cape around her neck. So she realized when she was opening her salon, she didn't want mirrors because she wants people to see the end result. So they're not sitting in front of a mirror when they're having their hair done. They go to the mirror afterwards. And
Yeah,
I
it's a
love
good
that.
idea,
So
actually.
it's a
Yeah.
really good conversation. And you subscribe to Mel Robbins' Let Them theory.
Yeah, I did get our book and I think I've listened to all our podcasts. I would walk a lot, so when I might walk and I just listen to podcasts. Yeah, and she's very good now. She's very relatable too, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I can see why you like her. So finally, what is one thing that you always carry with you? What's always in your bag? What's a non-negotiable for you to bring with you if you're going somewhere?
My phone, unfortunately, and I've always given it up to my children. Here's me on the phone. Will you just get off them phones? And then here's me sitting on my phone. I'd be like, yeah, but I'm doing work. But yeah, it's just like another arm, isn't it? It's ridiculous. And now I have two
Yeah.
phones, and now I'm like, oh,
Absolutely brilliant. Michelle, that was an incredible conversation. Thank you for opening up so much. And I think that you're so wise. You gave so many nuggets that I hope people will take away of just brilliant, brilliant advice and information. I really enjoyed our conversation. So I hope that people really enjoy listening to it. You're absolutely
thank
brilliant.
you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank
And then at the start of the year was on my goal list was to be on a podcast, and this is my first podcast. To start something bigger opening up for me.
Well, I hope that this leads to many, many, many more podcast experiences. This episode of Salon Stories is brought to you by the Melissa Hayward Academy. That's me. If you're a stylist ready to level up your skills and finally take the leap into hair extensions, I would love to help. I've trained hundreds of amazing stylists all over Ireland and beyond, and seeing them thrive is honestly my favourite thing in the whole world. So head on over to melissahaywardacademy.com to learn more or connect with me on Instagram or Melissa Hayward Academy on there.